Johnstone goes off walking first, and Seve crests the hill, and he sees Johnstone standing in the middle of the fairway with his hands on his hips, looking down at a golf ball, which is right next to a sprinkler head. And he says, Seve, look, wait, come here. What do you think, relief? Seve looks at the ball and keeps on walking, and he says, no. Now, Johnstone's pissed off. So he goes after Seve, and he says, look, pal. He says, we've been out here for 2.5 hours, and you haven't said a word to me. We're here for charity. This is not in the spirit of the game. So I'm just going to ask you one more time. You come back here and you look at that ball, relief or not. Now Seve's really pissed because this guy's gotten in his grill. And he looks down at it, and he gets right up next to him, and he says, no, you must play the ball as it lies. Johnstone gets even closer to him, and he says, that's too bad, because it's your ball.
Well, that song can only mean one thing. It's time for another episode of the Vanity Index podcast. It's powered by JLab. I'm Wells Adams in the studio, joined by
Bad Mom in New York City.
What are you doing in New York City? Oh, you're playing National tomorrow.
Yes, I am. I know.
Oh, God.
I know.
You're just the worst, by the way.
Listen, I played a really cool club on, it was Sunday. This place called Tamarack, which is in Greenwich, Connecticut. It's an old Charles Banks, who was a protege of Seth Rayner. So there's a lot of kind of like template holes. Another one of these just like amazing Northeast courses that I had never heard of, and is like one of the greatest walks ever. Super fast and firm, really cool. And I think just like, I think we always talk about, people talk about how Instagram is spying on you. So I've been researching this course and was looking it up. And the morning I woke up to go play it, the first thing in my Instagram feed was like an article from Fried Egg about Tamarack Golf Club as being like this hidden gem. But anyway, so if I could put anybody onto it, it's awesome. Tamarack Country Club in Greenwich, Connecticut. But then, yes, I'm making the trip out to Long Island, driving out to the Hamptons tomorrow morning after we finish recording this tonight, and going to be playing at National Golf Links of America for 2 days. I cannot wait. I still can't believe I get to do it.
You have a great guest today in broadcaster, golf sicko Jimmy Roberts. Is he going to be there? Is that why we set this up?
He may or may not be there at this event as well.
Wow.
But yes, actually, and I would say that this is how I got to know Jimmy, but I actually met him in an even more, ridiculous place, which is at the Masters, because Jimmy does a lot of work for Augusta during the week and produces a bunch of cool sort of journalistic features for them. And so we met when we were doing season 1 of Full Swing, like deep in the content center of Augusta during Masters week. And I'm like, just like hear this voice behind me that I recognize from, the Olympics and everything NBC Sports. And sure enough, it's Jimmy Roberts, and we became fast friends. And he's a storyteller by nature. So he's honestly way more qualified than either of us to be on a podcast like this. And so I knew I was going to see him. I wanted to have him come on. We'll tell us some Ryder Cup stories. We'll do a little prep for that. And also he has a new project he just launched, so I wanted to tell us all about it.
And I did see that the Golf Channel, or NBC, has renewed their deal with the PGA and the USGA, correct?
The USGA, yeah. They announced their USGA deal, so they will continue to be the broadcast home of the US Open, which is very exciting. It was interesting because that tournament, they're doing their deal now. I was very curious if that was going to end up at a streamer. So we haven't really seen like a major go to a streamer yet. And, I'm sure, I don't know anything, but I'm sure that the USGA was talking to the streamers, but it was cool to see that, NBC got it.
I'm really excited, as someone who went to school for broadcast journalism, to have a true journalist on the show is something that like really, really gets me very excited. So Jimmy Roberts coming up on this show is going to be very, very cool. Before we get into the interview, I thought we would do our segment called Overheard from JLab. From the lab to the course, JLab Tech is trusted by the pros with gear engineered in the lab, built for every practice, every flight, and every moment you need to lock it in.
As you know, I am using the JLab gear right now. I've got their microphone and headphones, which has been awesome for the road. And they don't just make mics and headphones. They have earbuds, Bluetooth speakers, everything you need for life that respects your budget. So look for that blue box at retailers everywhere or shopjlab.com.
So I overheard a bunch of golfers at the club the other day talking about who they thought in professional golf had the best swing. So I thought, Chad, we would do a thing where I make you blind rank some of the best golf swings in the world. Are you ready for this? I mean, I've seen a lot of people do these blind rank things, and I want to see how you do with this.
Okay, wait. So how many are you going to show me?
10.
Okay, and I got to sort them?
Yeah, you just say what number it is.
Oh, God. Okay. All right. Let's go.
You ready?
I'm ready.
This is tough. I put this list together earlier, and I was like, I don't know. All right. Blind ranking the best golf swing. Number 1, or the first one, Ben Hogan. Where are you putting Ben Hogan?
I think, in the pantheon of golf swings, this is my personal ranking. I would put Hogan at 6.
Okay. The next one, Louis Oosthuizen.
Smooth, man. Smooth. And I'll never forget the double eagle he made on number 2 at the Masters. Just one of the most epic golf shots of all time, and it barely looked like he was swinging at it. I'm going to put Louis at 5.
The next one. This one is kind of obscure, but I'll be interested to see where you put this. Mo Norman.
Mo Norman, I'm going to say 9.
Oh, wow.
Because he
was the greatest hitter of the ball ever.
I don't care. It's a hideous looking move. I hate how high his hands are. I'm assuming you're going to throw something really goofy in here, so I got to save 10 for something. But aesthetically, I would never want to swing like Mo Norman, even though I'd probably play a lot better golf if I swung like Mo Norman. I just the look of it, he's a legend in the game, but I'm gonna say 9.
Next up, El Tigre, Tiger Woods.
Which Tiger are we talking about here? Because
let's say 2000 Tiger.
2000 Tiger. I'm going number 2.
Is that the Butch Harmon swing?
That's the Butch Harmon swing. That's like the like super flat left wrist, kind of pretty steep, perfect synchronization. I think the best version of this is the 3-wood he hit at St. Andrews that he hits like 300 yards. And he says to Stevie Williams, like that, or something like that, just immediate flush. But, some of the long iron shots he hit at the Memorial that year, or, where he's just hitting these lasers. Tiger 2000, he's number 2.
Up next, the Big Easy, Ernie Els.
I'm going to put the Big Easy at number 1 for me. I think Ernie's always what my dad always said it was his favorite swing. It was always what how I wanted to hit the golf ball. I never could swing as smooth as Ernie, but like the mix of the technical perfection of his swing, the positions he gets in, and the ease at which he does it. Yeah, I mean, I've seen him hit balls in person. Like when I was a kid, actually, when I went out to the first PGA Tour event I ever went to, I think I was probably like 10 years old, and we had to go find Ernie. And so we went and watched him hit, and it was just as impressive in person. He's just as impressive now watching him hit balls, even as he's playing on the Champions Tour. So I'm going to put Ernie at number 1.
There's something really cool about effortless power, and I feel like that's what Ernie Els had.
Yep.
Up next, staying in the Southern Hemisphere, Adam Scott.
So this is going to be controversial, and I've been waiting for an avenue to have this, I have a bone to pick with Adam Scott's swing. I feel like everybody talks about Adam Scott's swing as being this like perfect move, and he does have a beautiful swing. I think that basically post impact, his follow through up to the top on his finish is just not aesthetically pleasing at all. Like he kind of jerks it up at the end, the way he kind of hands come around. It's kind of steep. I think that he doesn't have a 100% perfectly aesthetic swing. I think it's probably aesthetic for the first 70% of it, but then the last 30%, it just something about that finish that bugs me a little bit. It seems kind of quick. And I'm going to put Adam Scott at 7.
Up next, the Golden Bear, Jack Nicklaus.
8.
Fair enough.
Yeah, jerky. High hands, classic swing, kind of reverse C, but I never really loved watching, his golf swing. I think 8's a good place for him.
This next one would be my number 1, just so you know, Freddie Couples.
God, well, I've already said number 1. I said number 2. Did I say number 3? Have I said a 3 yet?
You have not said a
Okay,
third.
Freddie's going in at 3, definitely.
Fair enough.
I had to, when I was picking Ernie, I was really debating. I was like, who's going to take one? Is it going to be Freddie or Ernie? As much as I love Freddie, as much as we love Freddie couples here on this podcast, I'm going to put him at number 3, if only because I think you get a similar rhythm out of Ernie Els, but you get sort of better positions. It's more square. And I think in terms of just swagger in his swing, I'd put Freddie up there as number 1. But I'm gonna have to pick. I already have my 1 and 2, so Freddie's going in at number 3.
Yeah, I mean, his swing is just, he's like the mayor of Tempo Town. But he does have a little bit of a chicken wing backswing, and that, I feel like that wrist does really kind of sling back. But God, that's a great swing. And it just hasn't changed over the years, too. It's just exactly what it's been his entire career. I love that. All right, 2 more.
Okay.
You've got 10 available, and you have
4, right?
4.
Oh, boy.
The next one, Rory McIlroy.
It's definitely number 4.
Okay.
I really hope that you don't have Jake Knapp as the next one, because I'm going to be like so embarrassed, because he'd be number 4 too. Oh my God. Rory is definitely in the top 5 for me. I think the best description ever of Rory McIlroy's swing was Shane Ryan in his book, Chasing the Tiger. He described it as a liquid rope, which I think is such a great way to describe Rory's swing. Timeless, but very ownable. It's ownably his. He's recognizably, his swing is instantly recognizable from like across a golf course. You know it's Rory. Seemingly always on balance. I don't think I've ever seen him off balance on a finish, no matter how hard he's swinging. You've seen the times with Tiger's off balance. You've seen, never seen Rory out of balance. And just an absolute, like maybe the greatest driver of the golf ball of all time. I think 4 is a great spot for Rory.
I think
the pantheon of swings.
The best compliment you could have for Rory's swing is that when asked who should Charlie Woods, emulate, Tiger said you should do Rory and not me.
What's so cool is that Charlie's swing is kind of like a hybrid of the two. You do kind of get a little bit of both. Tiger's sort of backswing, Rory's sort of follow through and balance. It's cool.
All right, last one. I mean, he's got to go number 10, unfortunately.
Don't say Jake Knapp.
I won't. I wouldn't do that to you. Bryson DeChambeau.
Okay, 10. I'm happy to say. Actually, I feel like there's some good, groupings here, because Bryson has been a huge fan of Mo Norman and the Golfing Machine, which was Mo Norman's sort of process. I think Golfing Machine was Mo Norman, or at least like some one of his disciples. Very similar setup, super high hands, very practical golf swing, a lot of like the golf club in the palms of your hands. Mo Norman famously used really big grips, same thing as Bryson. You can see a lot of Mo Norman and Bryson's move. Clearly been very effective for him, but I think I'm actually very happy with him at number 10. I was sweating there knowing it was a body bag like Jake Knapp. I'm actually pretty happy with the way this all netted out. So if I can remember, so it was 1 is Ernie,
Yes.
2 is Tiger,
Yes.
3 is Freddie,
Yes.
4 is Rory,
Yes.
5 is Hogan,
5 is Louis Oosthuizen.
5 is Oosthuizen. Okay, fine with that. Yeah, you can see some consistencies here. 6 is Hogan,
Yes.
7 is Jack,
Adam Scott.
Yeah, I stand by it. 8 is Jack.
Yep.
9 is Mo Norman, and 10 is Bryson.
Yeah.
That was a fun one.
That was good, right?
Yeah, that was really good.
All right, so today on the show, we're joined by one of the most respected voices in sports journalism, Jimmy Roberts. For more than 4 decades, Jimmy has been telling the stories that make sports matter, from the roar of the Ryder Cup to the quiet dignity of the Masters. He's a 15-time Emmy Award winner, a veteran of 20 Olympic Games, and the trusted voice of NBC Sports and Golf Channel, where his essays and features have become as anticipated as the events themselves. A former caddy from White Plains who covered over 70 major championships and 15 Ryder Cups, Jimmy has also authored Breaking the Slump and co-written No One Wins Alone. He's a master storyteller, a lifelong lover of the game, and in his own words, a struggling golfer, which means he fits in right here. Jimmy Roberts, welcome to the Vanity Index podcast.
What up, guys? I'm a big fan of what you're doing. You've had me rolling on a couple of your episodes. Absolutely rolling. Love it.
Do you have some favorite guests that we've had on thus far?
Well, there's, what I like to say is there's no silver medal. There's just the gold medal. Gold medalist Billy Bush, just retire it right now. But, what I had to think about Bush, because I know Bush, is that, he's such a natural because he's just a wind-up doll, All you need to do is just get him going, and he's a caricature of himself and the nicest guy. Billy has friends everywhere. Everyone loves Bushy. Everyone loves Bushy, as he would say.
That's right, he would say it.
Have you listened to the Richard Kind one yet?
It's so funny that you say that. I haven't, but I played golf with Richard I'm going to go all Billy Bush now. I played golf with Richard at Michael J. Fox's outing the week before he did it. He is a riot. I mean, try playing golf with that guy. Try concentrating when you're playing golf with that guy. He's a beauty. I'm sure it's great. I haven't heard it yet.
Well, we always start off the show, and we're already getting into famous people you play golf with, so that'll be the second question. But our traditional first question for a guest on the Vanity Index podcast is, what is your current index right now, Jimmy?
Well, I got news for you. It ain't no Vanity Index here, and I'm not a sandbagger. I mean, so I played today, and I shot 85, and that's about my game. I think the USGA's got me right now at a 12-1. Chad, you and I played golf we played golf maybe a couple of times, but it's certainly a few years ago. And, it is what it is. My goal in golf is just not to embarrass myself. I mean, it's always to have a good time, but I just want to be with people where they're not looking over, sideways and going, holy shit, who brought him along? I tell you a quick funny story. Doing what I do, I think there's, this perception that I must be really good at golf. Somebody once literally stopped me in an airport to tell me, very kind, to say how much they enjoyed my work and this and that. And as they were leaving, they said, I couldn't find it. What years did you play on tour? It's like no. So I'm a 12. Okay.
What's the lowest it's been?
Like 9-3. A few years ago, my goal is I always wanted to be able to say at one point in my life I was a single digit, and I got there, and it's stayed there for a little bit, but I've been listening to the whispers, changing some things, and it's just not good, Anyway, I do love the game, but the game doesn't always love me back. But that's not the first time you've heard that.
Yeah.
The 12 is a great place to be, though, I feel like. It's a good, a great partner at 12. I always say, give me like a good putting 12 as a playing partner, and we're going to go win some money. Because you can, you'll make some, I've seen you hit some really good shots. So it's in there. You know the game so well. You know what, needs to be done. Obviously, sometimes we all have trouble executing, but dude, be my partner anytime. We'll go win some money.
Well, I will say this. I'm capable of birdieing anything. I am also capable of going X on the card. Or as my friend Todd Martin says, I'm capable of going linen at any minute. Ball in the linen. One of my favorite golf expressions.
We'll have to bring that out.
We have a lot of celebrities, a lot of actors, a lot of broadcasters, a lot of musicians and athletes on the show, and kind of everyone has they say the same thing, which is, I'm not nervous for you going in front of 30 million people to broadcast the Olympics, but you put me on the tee with 5 guys and I'm shitting my pants. Do you still feel that way?
Maybe less so, but there have been moments. If you guys have played Marion, you don't want to be, if you're not really comfortable with your game off the tee, you don't want to be rolling up to Marion, because you are basically, 15 feet away from Mrs. Haversham having lunch. And the nightmare that I always have is that the patio is full. You step up to the tee, and, there's the din of conversation, and you can hear the, the silverware clinking, and all of a sudden, you stick your peg in the ground and it goes silent, and people, and heads turn, and invariably at that point I wake up in a cold sweat and saying, "Oh my God, it's just a dream. It's just a dream."
Oh yeah, it's that dream that you have a final the next day and you haven't studied for it, right?
Been there.
Doing a little bit of research on you, you were a caddy back in the day as a kid. Let's talk about it. It was a Fenway Golf Club?
Yeah, it's a Tillinghast course in White Plains that Gil Hance redid a couple of years ago. It's a spectacular place. Caddying is just, I'm just so flattered. This week I'm being inducted into the National Caddy Hall of Fame, which is, I got to tell you, I was really, really touched when I got that phone call, because caddying is important. It really helped me learn a lot about the game and about people. The mantra, the show up, keep up, shut up thing, you learn that, and it has true value. And the characters. I was like a 15-year-old kid, and there was this guy named Raincoat Bob. Okay, so Raincoat Bob, who knows? He was probably like 40-something, but I thought he was 140. And Raincoat Bob's deal was that he carried like every brand of golf ball in his pockets in his raincoat. And when Mrs. Haversham hit one in the junk over on the right, and she'd be looking for it, Bob would say, "Mrs. Haversham, what are you playing?" "Oh, a Top Flight 3. Got it right here. What a good lie." Magically appeared. Then there was a guy named Womp, W-O-M-P. And his name was Womp because that's all he said. Womp, Womp. It was just affirmative, negative. I think it applied to everything. Clearly Womp had some issues, but it was, it was a strange cast of characters for a 15-year-old.
So how long did you caddy for?
Probably 3-4 years, because by the time I got to be 17 years old and I would have kind of taken caddying more seriously, I had started writing for a newspaper at that point, and of course it was a PM paper. We'd worked through the night, and there was another Golf Connection there, so we would, I was 17, 18 years old, and I'm working with these grizzled old veterans, and back then they smoked in the newsroom, and we'd put the paper to bed at 5 a.m. and we'd go to the bar. My parents loved this whole thing, by the way. So you're up all night, you work, then you go to the bar with a bunch of middle-aged to older men who are also looking at the daily racing form, over their breakfast and bourbon. And then at, 7:30, when the sun is rising, we were out playing golf. So, caddying kind of disappeared for me probably around 16 years old. And I was playing sports too, so I didn't really have time.
Well, congratulations on getting inducted into the Caddy Hall of Fame. Is there a ceremony? What's the event? Yeah, where's the ceremony?
Well, it's administered by the Western Golf Association, and it's part of the week-long celebration of the Evans Scholars Foundation, which, to me, the Evans Scholars Foundation is one of the most amazing things that golf does. It was started in 1930. You guys probably know this. Chick Evans, great golfer, great amateur golfer, didn't want to turn professional. What was he going to do with his winnings? So he basically started a foundation. And since then, they have sent more than 13,000 kids to college. And it's not just giving them some kind of scholarship. It is tuition, room, board, fees, everything. And it's the stories of some of the kids and where they came from and what their lives were like and what their lives became as a result of caddying, because it gave them purpose and it gave them a place to be, and it put them in proximity to people who are great people who cared about them, and they learned a lot of good things and their lives turned around. Every year I love it when the BMW Championship rolls around and the Evans Scholars Foundation becomes a big deal. And so this year, by the way, my alma mater, the University of Maryland, opened their Evans Scholars House. So that was a big deal too. So anyway,
Wow.
It's all the WGA.
I want to pivot over into your career a little bit. As a fellow broadcast journalism major, I think it's so cool to talk to somebody and that has been as prolific as you have been over your career and covering so many different sports, which is very, very difficult. A lot of people have their niches, but we've been talking a lot about there should be another major. And Chad had posed the question that maybe the fifth major should be the Olympics. And as someone who covers the Olympics, I wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Listen, the Olympic golf competitions have been fantastic. And I think in Los Angeles, when I guess they're going to have a competition finally, that's going to be a team competition, men and women, that's fantastic. That's what I've been waiting for, okay? Because it's going to end up legitimizing that. It's going to make it a competition of real interest. I know that I'm in the minority on this. I don't really care. I have always thought that the players should be a major. The mistake that the tour made was letting it be known that they wanted it to be named a major. Couple things to consider. It can happen because there's no committee. It's not like there's this secret cabal of people who meet and say, this should be a major. It just, you guys know the story, how it happened. What's his name? The Pittsburgh sports writer is escaping my mind now, is Arnold Palmer's friend, Bob Drum. They kind of dreamed it up in 1960. There was no Grand Slam. And I think if you look at what the Players is, okay, it is the championship event of the most elite tour in the game on a course, the same course every year, just like Augusta's the same course every year. It's arguably the best field in golf, okay? I don't know. I think it should be, but it'll never happen. And I kind of think it's a waste of time to talk about it because there's no mechanism. How can it happen?
It could be like, be one of these like retrospective things where people kind of say, hey, we start counting it at a certain point. Yeah, we actually, I'm glad you brought up the Players because that was kind of the crux of our discussion is like, which would be the fifth, if there was going to be a fifth major, what is it? And I'd said that I feel like in 30 years, the Players will be considered a major. And I think especially the winners of that event, if you look back, it definitely belongs in the pantheon of major winners. And it only seems like you keep getting more and more elite winners in that event. But then that got me thinking about the Olympics. And I think that at least because it's every 4 years, the chances in a career to win a gold medal in the Olympics are very few and far between. I mean, you have fewer chances than you even get to win a Ryder Cup or play on a team. To qualify for it, you've got to be, what is it, top 4 U.S. qualifiers or top 6? I think it's 4 from the U.S.
It's 4. If you have, I forget what the formula is these days, but if your country has X number of players ranked in the top 20 or 15, then you get another automatic spot. Listen, I have always been against tennis in the Olympics, the NBA in the NBA players in the Olympics, golf in the Olympics. Although I got to say, Scotty winning last time around was just incredibly cool, and he was so moved by it. It just seems like everything Scotty does is right, I mean, he hit the right tone. But, I don't know. I think I have this perspective that if the Olympics should be the most important title in your sport. And if it's not, it doesn't belong in the Olympics.
That's a good metric. Yeah.
Well, because, that's kind of soccer's issue, right? Like the World Cup is the biggest thing. So the Olympics wouldn't be as big. And I don't disagree with it. But I do like your point of this team competition and having it be co-ed, right? Like, isn't that the idea, is that the guys are going to be playing with the girls, and I like that because, you know, I do a lot of stuff with the LPGA, and I feel like if people got to see how good these ladies were, I think perception would change a whole lot.
Yeah. Well, listen, why can't it be valuable and separate? You know, why can't it be just different? It doesn't have to be part of something else. I don't know. Listen, I've covered, as you mentioned, I've covered a lot of Olympic Games. And what I love most about the Olympics is just what you mentioned, Chad, is that, you know, it's once every 4 years. I mean, you could wake up on the morning of your competition with a cold. You know, you could have a fight with your spouse and put you in a bad headspace. You know, there are so many things. And by the way, the most I get asked this question all the time. What's the most memorable thing I've seen? It happened at an Olympics. It was Dan Jansen finally winning his gold medal. And, you know, people don't remember that story. But Dan Jansen winning that gold medal in Lillehammer in 1994 after a decade of heartbreak. I mean, this guy was the Tiger Woods of his sport. But as he said, you know, if you had never watched speed skating, you would think I was a klutz who couldn't stay on my feet. You know, and it all started when on the morning of the 500-meter race in Calgary, you know, when he was supposed to win it all, he got a phone call at 5 o'clock in the morning. His sister, who he'd been very, very close to, died of leukemia. And he was just absolutely overwhelmed. And he fell, and nobody knew about it. And then he came to the press conference. He told everybody about it. And then he said, I'm dedicating the next race to her. And again, he was the top-ranked skater in the world, and he fell. And I always say this, you know, if you don't know the Dan Jansen story, all you need to do is Google Dan Jansen, and you will see the picture of him sitting on the ice with his head in his hands. And it was the cover picture back when this mattered, like Time and Newsweek. I mean, it was so big, and this story just followed him around year after year after year, and he finally won, and he did it in dramatic fashion. And it was it's the most memorable sporting event I've ever been present for so many reasons. You know, and afterward, you know, he finally wins, and everybody's getting emotional because he's such a good guy. He's skating around the ice. He skates over to the corner, and somebody hands something down to him over the security fence, and this is before 9/11, so it was just a different world, literally, that we were living in. And somebody hands something to him, and he skates around the ice, and there's a spotlight on him. It's so cinematic. He's skating around with his baby daughter, Jane, who's named after the sister that passed away. It's like, who wrote this, you know? So, anyway. Oh, and by the way, he's one of the sickest golfers I know. He married his golf professional.
Good way to get free lessons.
He went Tin Cup on it?
Yeah.
Tin Cup? That's right.
That's your most memorable Olympic experience. Can I ask you what your most memorable golf broadcasting memory is?
You know, when I was at ESPN, I worked at ESPN for 12 years, and I would say, I mean, I've done a lot of play-by-play and a lot of interviews. I have to say, when the European team lost, it's probably two, and I know I'm going to leave something out here. When the European team lost at Whistling Straits, and I did the interview with Rory after he lost his singles match on Sunday, and he just surrendered to emotion and cried. You know, that was just a jarring experience for me. I mean, I really have always admired any athlete who's willing to level with you, you know, because so many of them don't, and I don't blame them. You know, it's such a trap door for them in so many ways. So there was that. And then the other one I would say, when I was with ESPN, I was the only person in 1997 that Tiger gave an interview to when he won at Augusta. I mean, he did the broadcast, he did the Butler Cabin thing, but I was the only person he gave an interview to. And the reason, I'm convinced, is because Tiger at that time was such a SportsCenter fan. To him, he wanted to be on SportsCenter. So I got the interview, and it was, you know, it was news. So that was memorable to me.
Well, what's so cool about getting to be friends with you and just hearing all your stories. You have one, by the way, for doing 40 years of sports broadcasting, you look freaking great, my friend. So, it must be the
modern medicine.
Modern medicine, but you look great. You must have started,
Thanks,
right before you started caddying, I guess.
Yeah.
You're getting to 40 years. But, you've been around for so many of these eras. You've seen like sports change so much. You've seen the superstars, just thinking about golf, like when you would have started 40 years ago, I mean, this would have been like the kind of end of Jack's era. Yep. Or, I guess the kind of end of his era, that sort of peak 80s era, all the way up to kind of classic 90s golf and sort of the rise of Tiger, and then now this modern era, and you're still like just as relevant in the sport as you were when you first started your broadcast career. And I just wonder, like, how do you see the grand scheme of like golf, where it is right now, both pro golf and the game of golf, sort of having been a part of it, on the broadcast front, but just being in the scene? I mean, I don't want to, like, this is a long run-on question, but, we've both been fortunate to spend a lot of time in those locker rooms and out there on tour, and there's a particular energy to the life of pro golf and the people that are around it. And I don't know. I'm asking your perspective on kind of like your long history with it and the things that have stayed the same, but also the things that have really changed.
That's the perfect segue for me to talk about this new thing that I'm working on.
Perfect.
Because, and by the way, thank you for that. So I just started a new digital media company with a couple of partners, guys who are longtime media executives they've been at ESPN and Wyden and Kennedy and sales and marketing guys. And it's all about the business of golf. It's called Big Swing Media. And the reason we started this is because golf has absolutely exploded. And for me, the one thing that I think brings it most into focus, and everybody is taken by this. Did you know that there are more golf courses in the United States than there are McDonald's?
I had no idea.
That's crazy,
really?
Right?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Golf is exploding. I mean, exploding. The total economic impact on an annual basis in the United States is just about $250 billion. Manufacturing, entrepreneurship, travel and leisure, real estate, so many things. I mean, the game is kind of like a long roundabout way of answering your question, but the business of golf has absolutely exploded. It's grown 20% since 2016. Tell me what business has seen its bottom line increase by 20%, in 9 years. So I think that the one thing is that golf is just everywhere. And, for me, what I see is that was a niche sport, and it's still a niche sport. It really is. But in terms of public consumption of the media. But what's crazy is that it's the touch point for so much. Everybody plays golf. I mean, it becomes the way that so many people connect. But as far as, the game, the competitive aspect of the game, it's better than ever. I think the players are better than ever. That's because I think that golf is deeper than it's ever been. You guys would be, you guys would perfectly understand this. I played golf the other day with somebody who had never heard of J.J. Spawn. And he's not even a good example. On any given week, somebody who's ranked 200th in the world is capable of winning on the PGA Tour. I know it's a long time ago, but what was Ben Curtis's world ranking, when he won the British Open? That kind of stuff, I think, is more likely to happen, even in the day and age of Scottie Scheffler. I think it makes me sad in many ways that golf seems less – covering golf seems less collegial than it used to be. I mean, it used to be kind of a traveling circus. It was a lot of fun. I mean, it still is. We're fortunate, right? But it just seems it's become more corporate. It's, God bless these guys, the amount of money that they're able to earn. And so I think that that's changed things in a lot of ways. It's just not as mom and pop as it used to be, and I like that aspect of it back then.
Was there anything that sticks out to you about, like, as an example or a story about, place us back in the context of that era that you're talking about, the traveling circus, the mom and pop? Can you think of any examples or stories from that, kind of that previous time out there on tour?
I remember once going to a party with Michael Bamberger and Davis Love, and no, it was at Davis Love's house, and it was Michael Bamberger, myself, Joe LaCava, and Mike Mills, the bass player from REM. And I didn't really think anything of it. It just was like, oh yeah, the guys are all going out. Now, people who are journalists might say, well, I don't know if you shouldn't be doing that. Separation of church and state. You don't want to be co-opted. It just, I don't know. I'm probably rambling a little bit, but there was more stuff like that going on. It just seemed more fun, less controlled, less regimented. I don't know.
Well, of all the golfers, you mentioned sort of controlled. You kind of come back to this, the example you gave of Rory, sort of offering himself up. I mean, you've interviewed everybody. You've interviewed athletes, from every sport. So I'm going to put you on the spot. So give me your favorite athlete to interview, one from golf, and then one, your dealer's choice from the entire world of sports and interviews that you've done.
Okay.
And you can define favorite in any way that you would like to define it.
Okay. So Paul Goydos needs to be in the Hall of Fame. Okay. And just the personality Hall of Fame, and people may know this, but there was that time, I guess, then when he had the 54-hole lead at the Players that year, and he came up in the booth, and Bob Costas was working with us at the time doing golf interviews, and Bob got up there and said, Paul Goydos, 54-hole leader, now joins us, and Paul, he came in Sunday morning, and this will tell you all you need to know. Paul Goydos, came in to talk on Sunday morning. How'd you sleep last night, Paul? Paul looks and he says, on my back, I think. So I love Goydos. But in terms of the best interviews, Rory's really good. And Chad, you know this. Rory's really good because, and this is something I respect, you're not entitled to the answer that you want, but what you hope for is that if you take the time to do what you do, that somebody's going to honestly consider what you're saying and not just give you platitudes. The thing about Rory that I love is that he'll think about it. He honestly thinks about what you're asking him, and it's always been my experience, and it's not just with me, I think it's with a lot of people, that he endeavors to really try and give you a thoughtful answer. And I think that's great. He's not the only one. There are plenty of great guys out there. I think in terms of my favorite athlete to interview of anybody, you mentioned the other book that I wrote, which was No One Wins Alone, which was a book that I wrote with Mark Messier. Messier is just a whole other character. Now, granted, we're writing a book together, so what I got from him is probably not what people necessarily get. But this guy, talk about, he's real. He's just totally real. He is smarter when it comes to leadership. He's a guy who didn't even graduate high school, but he's smarter than a lot of people that I've worked for, who've got advanced degrees. And he's just thoughtful, and he's real, and he's not afraid to say what he wants to say. And that's another thing, is that, when somebody's not afraid, like Charles Barkley is the perfect example. Charles doesn't give a shit what you think about what he says, and God bless him. I love that, right?
Yeah.
So
totally.
Messy.
I want to add on to this question. What athlete would you love to have a beer with?
I don't know. I mean, I've done a lot of it.
Okay, so who's the best guy to have a beer with?
Michael Jordan's fun. Michael Jordan's fun to have a cocktail with.
Yeah.
And I mean, you talk about people who love golf. Jordan at the Ryder Cup is like the happiest human being you ever want to see. I mean, he's so all in. I don't know. That's a good question. I should have been given these questions in advance so I could have studied.
Well, that's a good transition. I want to talk a little bit about Ryder Cup. Obviously, we're recording this interview in August, and be listening to it in August, and we're about a month out from Bethpage.
Yep.
And it always seems like the Ryder Cup, no matter what, is always a media circus. And I think part of it is like I hadn't experienced it from the inside until we did season 2 of Full Swing, but it's weird. It's because there's nothing else to talk about that week, and there's only like 12 players on a team. Usually, like a major week, you kind of fill up the slate with like narratives, and there'll be a few that emerge, but because the golf doesn't start till Friday, it just is like the longest week in golf of just stuff, and people run out of things to talk about, so they just start chirping, and it gets crazy, and you're second guessing things. And so, I'm just curious, one, like on your take about the Ryder Cup now, like, should Keegan play? Do you think he should be a playing captain? Obviously, Keegan, great story in general, like, as the captain, I think an unexpected pick. But yeah, give me your thoughts on kind of this upcoming Ryder Cup. What should we expect? What do you think is the interesting storylines? And then obviously, like, I'd love your thoughts on sort of Keegan as playing captain. And then I want to ask you just about some memories that you have of covering so many Ryder Cups, because there's just nothing really like it in sports, honestly.
Yeah, I've got one of my favorite stories is that from things that I've covered is from a Ryder Cup. And I'd love to get back to that in a minute. But I think that, and I literally have covered just about everything. I once covered for ESPN the World Chess Championship. I mean, I've been sent off to a lot of strange places, but I think the Ryder Cup may be the single greatest sporting event there is, just because the intensity is so real. I mean, the Olympics are amazing. Don't get me wrong. The Masters is amazing. I mean, there are so many great sporting events. But the Ryder Cup is the one. I mean, I remember, and I won't tell you who it is, I remember a player telling me a story about how in his first Ryder Cup, he was so scared. In alternate shot was Friday morning. He was supposed to hit the opening tee ball, and 10 minutes before his pairing was supposed to go off, he went to the captain. He said, "I can't do this. You got to have him hit the ball. I can't do it." And this is a guy who won a major championship, by the way.
Wow.
So that to me is so appealing, because that tells you all you need to know about how real it is. So I love the Ryder Cup. I think it's gotten a little bit out of hand. I really thought Rome got a little ugly in a way that just made me feel uncomfortable. And listen, it's not new. What happened at Brookline in '99, I think was, depending on whose side of that story you were on, there were some people who were angry. I mean, golfers who were angry. And I think some of the fan behavior is just outrageous. And it's on both sides. I don't want to hear any bullshit about, that the Europeans are telling me that this is an American problem, or the Americans telling me it's a European problem. It happens on both sides of the Atlantic. And I'm just, you can call me old-fashioned if you want, but I'm a little uncomfortable with how far it's gone. And to that point, buckle your freaking seatbelts for Bethpage, because I'm a New Yorker, man, and I'm telling you what, I just don't have any idea what to expect, what's going to happen there. That could be crazy. So
I think it was we were with Freddie Couples at the Happy Gilmore premiere, and he and I were getting a shave together, which was quite a silly, frivolous thing to do. But he told me that to him, winning a point at a Ryder Cup felt to him the same as winning a major. Not even winning the Ryder Cup, but getting a point.
That's great.
He said he came off the 18th hole the first time he ever won a point in a Ryder Cup, and he said he felt exactly like he felt winning a major, and this was on a Friday morning.
Right.
Just to show you what it means to a guy who has won majors, that's how big of a deal it was. So you do feel the intensity and the pressure cooker of it all. I'm curious if you have any stories from the Ryder Cup that you can give us.
So it's one of my favorite stories from covering sports. And whenever I talk to people, I say, if you haven't been to a Ryder Cup and you're a sports fan, you got to go. And I like to tell this story because I think it illustrates why it means so much. It's hard to paint a word picture, say, oh, it's just the greatest or the intensity level. It's palpable. But so this story really goes back to like the mid 1980s, early 1980s. So the United States had absolutely dominated the Ryder Cup for the longest time. I guess it was coming up to 1985. The U.S. had won 22, I think, of the 25 Ryder Cup matches. I mean, it was a total walkover. And Tony Jacklin was the captain, and they win. The European team wins at the Belfry in 85, and it's big news. And then Jacklin's the captain again in 87. Now, the Europeans have never won, whether it was England or Great Britain and Ireland, Europe. They've never won in the United States. So they go to Muirfield and they win. And Jack's the American captain. And they win at Jack's golf course. Huge, huge doings, right? And the next time around, so Jacklin's the captain then. So he's now won 2 in a row. They go back to Europe. It's a tie. So Tony Jacklin is just an absolute hero. He's won 2 Ryder Cups. He's now retained a Ryder Cup. So what happens? They change captains, and Bernard Gallagher becomes the captain. 1991, the war at the shore. The Bernard Langer missed putt. The Americans win. Gets a little vitriolic, but but Gallagher loses. Then in 93, Gallagher loses again. So here's Gallagher, who has to follow Jacklin, and now he's lost 2 in a row, and that brings us to 1995 at Oak Hill. So 95 at Oak Hill, on paper, the Americans look to be prohibitive favorites. Lanny Watkins is the American captain. Lanny, who, the Ryder Cup courses through his veins, is just such a competitive man. He had an incredible record at the Ryder Cup. And the Americans have a lead going into Sunday. The Europeans come back and they win. And there was some controversial stuff that happened there. Lanny went to Wake Forest. He picked his buddy Curtis Strange. Curtis hadn't necessarily, some people thought, been playing well, but it meant a lot to Lanny. And Lanny's a pretty as a player, he was a pretty intense character and not an emotional guy who's just, snarling all the time. It just seemed part of like his operating reality. So they have this thing that they do at the Ryder Cup, which is this closing ceremony. I've emceed it before, and it's nonsense. It's mostly they get up on stage, the players, nobody wants to be there. The winning team just wants to drink. The losing team just wants to crawl in a hole. Yet here they are in their blazers and, on the stage. And so at Oak Hill, the Americans had kind of snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. And Bernard Gallagher finally gets his win. Lanny gets up there at this post-match ceremony. He's the first person he's called up to speak. And he comes up there and he takes his readers out and he puts them on. He takes some notes out from his pocket. And here's this tough guy. And there's this incredibly uncomfortable moment because it's apparent Lanny is overwhelmed with emotion and he can't talk. And he's on the verge of tears. That's how much this means to him. And it's uncomfortable. And, he's up there all by himself at this lectern, and everybody's kind of staring at him. I mean, you talk about cinematic, I'm waiting for cutaways, and the whispering. As the silence becomes even more uncomfortable, here comes Bernard Gallagher, rushes up, puts his arm around Lanny, takes his notes from him, and he says, "Let me help you out, my friend. I've been here and through this a few times myself. And I know it's not Michael Jordan's dumping 60 on the Knicks. It's not Messier scoring a hat trick in the Eastern Conference Finals against the Devils. It's not Tiger winning the Masters. That moment made such an impact on me because it's everything that I love about the Ryder Cup. The intensity of it, how much it means, and yet the ability to not make it about hatred and, to make it about good, healthy, hard-boiled competition. I'll never forget that. It was one of my favorite sporting moments that I've ever witnessed.
Man, I love that story.
I really do love the Ryder Cup. I think it's fabulous. But I'm wondering, guys, at what point do I get to tell my one Hollywood story?
Yeah. Oh, I think now's a great time. You've been waiting.
I've been waiting. I've got my notes. I got the whole thing. Okay.
Let's hear it.
Okay. So I'm still getting residuals, by the way, for a movie that was made, 28 years ago. They're not big residuals, but I'm still getting a check every now and again because I got to play myself in Tin Cup. And it was such a Walter Mitty moment. I mean, God bless Ron Shelton, who was all about verisimilitude. And you would appreciate this, Chad, doing a movie. It's like you want to make it seem real, or if you're going to try and do something like that. And so Ron Shelton recruited all these people who were covering golf or part of golf at the time to be in Tin Cup. And I was the beat reporter doing golf in 1997. So I basically play myself. And the scene is, I have this scene with Kevin Costner where he's hit it in the water a couple of times. He's repeatedly hit it in the water, the same situation. And he does it again and cut to the press conference. And I'm up there kind of, I don't want to say grilling him about it, but challenging him about it. And I still remember, I said, well, I don't know. We just want to know. You had yesterday you had the same club, same yardage. It seemed to be the same wind, and, you got the same result. You hit it in the water, and, back and forth we go, right? So we do the scene, and you listen to me, we do the scene as if, it was natural to me. But it was just the coolest thing. Everyone should have an opportunity to walk in those shoes once in their life. And for me, the best part about the movie was hanging out with Cheech Marin, because I grew up on Cheech and Chong, and he was just the coolest guy. And turns out Cheech's dad was an LA cop, which was kind of like, how is that even possible, right? How did I not know that, right? But anyway, so we do the scene, and then Ron Shelton, who's a great guy, he comes over, and again, Chad, you know this, you do the scene, then they move the cameras, and you do the scene again. You do the same scene a couple of times, so you get different angles of it. And he comes over to me, and he says, hey, listen, and he's kind of whispering to me. He says, I want you to ad-lib a little bit at the end of this. I said, well, and I'm terrified, by the way. It's like, it's taken me like a day to memorize 3 lines, and now he wants me to ad-lib. So he says, I want you to, when Costner comes back at you that last time, I want you to say, look, I'm sorry, we just don't know very much about you, but we've heard you have a tendency to choke. And so I said, okay, I think I can handle that, right? Boom, action. We do it. Back and forth we go. I give him the line. I said, we just, here you have a tendency to choke. There's silence for a second. And Costner gets up, stands up, and I think I can say this. It's a podcast, right? He says, fuck you! Fuck you! I see what you've been saying about me on television and writing about me. Fuck you! And I'm totally horrified. I'm thinking, wait a second. Is he really angry at me? What's going on here? And then Shelton says, cut. And everybody starts applauding. And I looked around and I thought to myself, this is how these idiots make a living? Are you kidding me? Now, of course, it never saw the light of day. But I thought it was just like incredibly amusing. And it's provided me a good story to tell 28 years later.
Oh, that's so good. Well, it's so funny, your reaction. These are how these people make a living. We had our mutual friend Seth Waugh on the podcast early on, and we snuck him in the background of Happy Gilmore.
I saw that.
Champions dinner scene. He's in there. But he came up to me like halfway through the day, and he was like, "This is cool, but like the most inefficient process I've ever seen in my entire life." He's like, "How is this a business?" You know,
right?
like just everybody sitting around all day long doing it over and over and over again. He's like, "I'm pretty sure the camera's not even facing my direction, but I still got to sit here and fake drink my fake cocktail." You know, he was just like, "This has been a great experience, but you guys are all crazy."
When we did Tin Cup, when they shot Tin Cup, I had one scene that in the movie is 30 seconds long, maybe. I was in Houston on the set for 6 days.
Wow.
6 days. I had a great time, by the way.
Yeah.
I wasn't voluntarily leaving, but 6 days.
By the way, I heard that Tiger was working with Costner when they were prepping for that movie, that they were sort of practicing together, that he would go out and practice with Tiger to prep for Tin Cup. Have you ever heard that?
I think I have heard that. And that, think back to 1997. I mean, if Tiger thought it was cool to be on SportsCenter, you would have figured he would have thought it was cool to work with Kevin Costner at the time. But yeah. I don't know if that's true or if it's not true.
I just heard that kind of recently, and it was I don't think if I was necessarily even shocked. I just thought it was like a cool fact that they would go and practice. I think we heard about this actually from I'm trying to remember. It might have been Richard Kind, or it was someone else on our podcast.
Yeah, it is. It was at our club.
It was at our club, right? And
of it.
Who was it that told the story? And he came out and he asked for some advice, like the guy who was a member who walked over to Tiger when he was kind of helping out Costner and asked him for his advice on, what kind of irons he should be hitting. And then he's like, "Well, I don't know, hit one." So he hit one. He said, "Well, sure as hell aren't those, whatever you're using." God, I wish I could remember who it was who told that story. But yeah, was it Pesci? It could have been one of those. It's a legendary story from our club. But yeah, it was all happening at our spot. So wild.
Was it Bush who was telling the Pesci story?
Probably. I mean, Bush had some good Pesci stories, but this one in particular, I'm trying to pinpoint who it was. But it was, just the idea of like Tiger and Costner out there kind of grinding, and then having the audacity to walk up to them and just be like, "All right, Kevin, hold on, I got a question for Tiger. What do you think about these irons I'm hitting?" And he's like, "Yeah, they're not working for you."
Yeah, but by the way, that's a pretty good line.
Exactly. Yeah. I want you to tell your favorite golf story of all time. So it's such a great story. So we'll just jump into this. So Jimmy, we're like so honored to have you on this show. We're gonna do some rapid fire questions, but before that, you have one of the greatest golf stories that I've ever heard, and I would love it if our listeners could hear your great story. So we're gonna just clear the floor for you. Spotlight on. Let's see it.
Here we go. Okay, so I love this story so much, and I think one of the reasons that I love it so much is because it's true, and I know it's true because I've talked to some of the principals to get confirmation. So
journalism.
Yeah, that's what I do. I need 3 sources. So this goes back to the late 1980s. Seve Ballesteros is playing in a charity match in the Netherlands against Tony Johnstone. Now, for those who don't know who Tony Johnstone is, played on the then European Tour, what's I guess now the DP Tour, for a long, long time. He's from Zimbabwe, but a pretty good player. He was Nick Price's assistant captain at the President's Cup in 2013 at Muirfield Village. But the most important part of the story is that Tony Johnstone is the polar opposite of Seve when it comes to tenor on the golf course. Seve, he could be playing a Sunday game carrying 3 clubs with his son, and it's the Ryder Cup. He'd cut out his throat, to get an advantage. Johnstone is got a lot of Lee Trevino in him. He's chit-chatting. He's talking to everybody. Got a big smile on his face, having a good time. So here these guys go. There's about 300 people there. The match is pretty even. As a matter of fact, they get to the 14th hole, which is a par 4. Blind tee shot straight up over a hill, and the match is tied. If this was 3 years ago, I would have said the match was all square, but I guess now the match is tied. So they both hit their tee balls right down the middle. Johnstone goes off walking first, and Seve crests the hill, and he sees Johnstone standing in the middle of the fairway with his hands on his hips, looking down at a golf ball, which is right next to a sprinkler head. And he says, Seve, look, wait, come here. What do you think, relief? Seve looks at the ball and keeps on walking, and he says, no. Now, Johnstone's pissed off. So he goes after Seve, and he says, look, pal. He says, we've been out here for 2.5 hours, and you haven't said a word to me. We're here for charity. This is not in the spirit of the game. So I'm just going to ask you one more time. You come back here and you look at that ball, relief or not. Now Seve's really pissed because this guy's gotten in his grill. And he looks down at it, and he gets right up next to him, and he says, no, you must play the ball as it lies. Johnstone gets even closer to him, and he says, that's too bad, because it's your ball. Okay, so there's actually an addendum to the story. There's a postscript, okay? So at the Ryder Cup in Rome, I did a dinner with Jose Maria Olazabal, who, as we all know, was very, very close to Seve. So, and even though I know the story was true, I said to him, please don't debunk the myth. And please, this was true. He says, oh yeah, that was true. He says, but you need to know what happened next. So Seve hits the ball off the sprinkler head, or, off the crappy lie. Johnstone hits, perfect lie, hits it. Johnstone hits it to 20 feet. Seve, his ball goes over the green. They get up there. Seve chips in. Johnstone misses the birdie putt. And Seve goes right over to him. He says, don't you ever come to me like that again. I love everything about it,
Oh, so good.
Yeah, it's a good one.
You obviously met Seve, right? Did you interview him?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he was like the mad professor, I mean, I have this vivid memory. Again, I'm with ESPN sometime in the late 90s, and we're in New Orleans, I guess, which was then the Freeport McMoran or whatever the heck it was. And we were sitting down there in a room waiting. The PGA Tour is bringing people to us. And we're sitting there and in full view. And here goes Seve. He goes one way down the hallway looking for us. Then he comes the next way down the hallway looking for us. He was like Inspector Clouseau, I mean, he eventually found us, but we sat there kind of, we weren't going to call out to him. We were just waiting for him to see us. We were going to see how long this could go on.
There
and
he
it went
goes.
on for a while. Yeah, there he goes. He's just, he's going. He'll find us eventually. But yeah, he was, what I do remember most about him, obviously, is what we all remember most about him, is that he was a genius. I mean, what he could do from the places that he did it is how does that happen? He was remarkable, really remarkable.
I love the postscript too. For some reason, just makes it so much better. Okay, so before we let you go, you ready for some rapid fire questions?
In the words of Michael Breed, let's do this.
Walk or ride?
Oh, walk. I hate riding. I played golf today and I had to ride. It bummed me out. Gotta walk.
Biggest golf pet peeve?
I hate people who don't fix their ball marks. People are inconsiderate, however it manifests. I don't like it when people don't fix their ball marks or, they're jerks, whatever.
Favorite course you've ever played?
National Golf Links of America.
Smart. One course you'd like to play but haven't yet?
It's one of two. It's either Chicago Golf Club or Fisher's Island.
Dream foursome?
My dad, Arnold Palmer, and I got 3 sons, 2 of whom will play golf, so that'd be tough. But I don't know. I'd make it a 5-some, and I'd bring my 2 sons. But I loved Arnold. Arnold was a great man. Arnold was a wonderful guy. He was very good to me personally, and my dad thought Arnold was the shit. So if I could have played golf with my dad and Arnold together, I think that would have been cool.
What's your current swing thought?
Ooh, that's a really good one. Well, it could be one of about 17. which is the problem, by the way. But best swing thought I ever got was from Jim Flick, who said, try and feel the weight of the club head throughout the entire swing. And that helps me. I have a tendency to get the club head ahead of my hands. So my current swing thought is trying to feel the weight of the club head, but also it's a grip thing, because I've taken a lesson lately that's helped me. So as long as my hands are in the right position, I feel like I can really attack the ball.
I feel like I know the answer to this next one, considering your mailbox money, but your favorite golf movie?
Oh, come on, man. Tin Cup, as long as they keep sending me money.
You could change one rule in golf. What would it be?
Oh, yeah. This is easy. Divot in the fairway. Ball in a divot. Jack does it at the Bears Club. If you land in a divot. I wrote a column. I write a column for a golf magazine, have for 20 years in New York. You would not believe the hate mail I got when I mentioned that. Some of which, I got an angry phone call from Jeff Hall at the USGA, who I love Jeff. He's a great guy, and we've known each other forever. But he was completely undone when I said that they should, that you should be able to move the ball out of a divot. It's just, you would have thought I said something indecent about his family.
Well, you're not in the minority on this show. I feel like that's the answer we always get. So.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The other one, and this really, it shouldn't be. If you hit the ball OB from the tee, don't go back. I mean, it's pace of play. I mean, so just take an extra stroke from wherever it crosses the boundary. I mean, that's silly. They need to change that.
Who do you wish you could hit the ball like?
I love Adam Scott's swing a lot. Give me Nelly Corda's swing. End of discussion. Give me Nelly Corda's swing.
Mm-hmm.
Favorite club in the bag right now?
It's always been my 8-iron. I feel most comfortable with my 8-iron. I'm always looking for an excuse to use it.
Least favorite club in the bag right now?
My 5-wood. I retired it. I don't even have it anymore. Sometimes it comes out, but it's not a good relationship.
What's your favorite adult beverage on the course?
Tequila and pineapple juice with a splash of soda.
Have you ever had a hole-in-one?
I have. One. I had an ace at 155 yards, 7th hole at the Karsten course at Arizona State in like 1996 or something like that. I've got the paperwork in there. Look, I've called a lot of them, on TV.
Oh, yeah.
And I actually have this joke with Steph Curry, because Steph had an ace at the American Century Championship.
Yeah.
And I called it. And we've actually laughed about this. I said, look, I haven't done what you've done, but I'm proud of my body of work. But if I'm lucky, all that anybody might ever remember me for is that, oh, yeah, that's the voice on Steph's hole-in-one.
What's the best score you've ever shot?
77.
Where was that?
My home club, Westchester Country Club, South Course. South Course.
And lastly, give us one word to describe your game.
It's either hopeful or chaotic. One of the two.
Jimmy, thank you so much for coming on the Vanity Index podcast. This has been an absolute Gatling gun of fantastic stories. Oh. Before you jump off, was there anything that we didn't ask you that you wanted to talk about?
My holster's empty, boys.
We know that's not true, but we'll have to get you back on the show. Well, I just want to say again, thanks for coming on, my friend, but also congrats on your new company. Where can we find Big Swing Media?
BigSwingMedia.net. And by the time that people are watching this, we will have more to talk about. We've got some really exciting things that we're working on. Some people that we're going to be speaking with, some events that we're going to be doing, all of it about the business of golf and how it's exploded and how it's really kind of reached its tentacles into so many different places. And the people that are involved are not the people you think are involved. It just seems to have exploded across all boundaries, and I want to talk to all of them to find out what it is about golf that they love so much and that made them want to get into business with it. So,
Well, congrats, my friend, on the big launch, and also thank you for giving so much to our game for so long and being such a great champion and or steward of all these great championships, and one of the great storytellers from our sport, Jimmy Roberts.
Well, thanks, guys. I just got to say one last thing in closing, which is that when I was a kid, I used to get in trouble for telling stories. Now I get paid for it.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I feel like he would have just stayed on for hours if I didn't say, hey, do you want to do rapid fire question?
He would have, definitely.
Yeah.
And we could have just continued to coax even more stories out of him about, all of his years out there. I mean, Jimmy's such a great he's just such a great storyteller. He's such a great guy. It's also cool too, what I appreciate about Jimmy, he's not pretentious in any way. Like you can just feel like he has this, I think partly why he's been so successful for so long, he's just got this like youthful energy to him. He's got almost like a, and I mean this as like a compliment, but like a boyhood version of the world, like looking at like this, just like the world is full of potential for great stories and greatness at any point. He's got a positivity to him that I think is so, I don't know, contagious, and he just puts people at ease, and and he's an amazing reporter, and he's told some heartbreaking stories, and some he's made people tear up, and obviously like the highest highs, the lowest lows. But I just like the way that he like looks at the world. It just feels like a person who really loves what he's gotten to do for his career, and it feels like it's just as exciting to him, and maybe even surprising that he gets to do it even after 40 years.
Yeah, I'm always impressed with broadcasters because it's a really hard job to do, because the job effectively is you have to try to make everyone like you. Mm-hmm. And I don't think he's putting it on. I think that he just comes naturally as like being a very, very likable guy, as we heard in the stories. But I'm glad we kind of stopped him, because if this show is going to continue on, we need to have him back. So we need more stories from him.
Yeah, we'll definitely have Jimmy back on the show for sure.
All right, it's time right now for our segment, Can't Knock It, brought to you by Knock Around, proud partner of the Vanity Index podcast. These guys make seriously awesome shades. Here's some right here. And now they're the official eyewear of the PGA Tour.
Yeah, they make a wide selection of performance shades too, not just those fashion models that Wells are wearing. They're able to give you heightened contrast and definition, and actually help you see the greens more clearly. It's wild how many details you could pick up. Maybe might need them for the sunny day I think we're going to have tomorrow out on Long Island.
Stop rubbing it in, dude. All right, if you guys want to try a pair, head on over to knockaround.com/golf. Use the code VanityIndex20 for 20% off your first order. Again, that's VanityIndex20 for 20% off. Some exclusions apply. Definitely worth checking out. Go do it. All right, so Can't Knock It. I saw this, and I think we can knock this. We'll see what you think. But I saw this on social media. Can a 15 handicap shoot level par in 90 days? So this was a Reddit thread, and this is what he said. I'm below average 15 handicapper, training like a professional over the next 90 days to see if I can shoot just one round at level par. I'm working with top coaches, Tommy Fleetwood's former coach, Charlie Hull's fitness coach, etc. I'm documenting my journey every day on YouTube. What do you think my chances are of achieving it? And any advice I may have not thought of how to actually achieve it? Can a 15 handicap shoot level par in 90 days?
Oh my God, absolutely not. Never in a million years is that possible. Now, I caveat that by saying, like, I think this is great marketing for this guy's YouTube account, and I'm sure that 90 days, I didn't get to quite there, but I'm going to give myself another 90 days and look at my channel, and all of a sudden he's just surrounded in brand deals, and he's getting an invite to the Creator Classic. But I think that golf is not a sport that you can go. So, okay, I think golf is a sport with the right instruction. You can go from like a person shooting 100 to a person who can break 90 in 90 days. I think it's possible to improve in a wide margin from like a very, very early beginner to someone who can play the game and actually go out and shoot a score and shoot in the 90s. I think that like that level from sort of beginner to kind of what you would call like a mid handicapper, I think would be possible with like really good instruction. But like to go from 15 to shooting even par, which by the way, in some ways and at some courses is better than Skratch. Like if you played at our course and you shot even par, which is 70, that's like shooting a 2 under at another course. Our course is a par 70, but the rating makes it, I think it's par. I think it's 71.8 is like the actual par. So not a chance. Like absolutely not a chance. You're not going to make enough birdies. You're not going to be consistent enough to play a full round of golf without a blow up hole, and you're not going to be able to hit it consistently close enough to make birdies to recover from your inevitable double or 2 doubles or lost ball. It's just not possible.
Yeah, I think we can knock this one. You could practice for the next 90 years and not shoot even par, just so you know, buddy. Like
you by the way, technically you could have all the knowledge in the world. You could have the coach right there telling you how to hit it. You still have to execute. The golf swing's super hard. You've got bad bounces. How do you recover? This is the most unlikely thing of all time.
Yeah, I mean, we wish you well, sir.
Yeah.
Good man.
Here's a good hypothetical for you. If you had like the best instructors in the world, is there any other sport task that you think you could do that would be equivalent, like with the best instructors? Like, I don't, make like 53 free throws in a row or something, or like dunk. I mean, would this be like dunking? Like, could you learn how to dunk in 90 days?
Yeah, I think you could. If you're like 6 foot tall, right, and you got the shoes with the weird thing that
the jumpy things. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's a good equivalent of like a very cocky sort of naive attitude, thinking that you could become like elite at something in 90 days. I don't think you could really become elite at anything in 90 days. And shooting level par, even par. This guy's obviously in the UK. Shooting level par once is a level of golf that the probably 98% of this golfing population will never even sniff. And so I think this is we got Wells by a marketing. We got marketed to here.
Yeah, well, we wish you well, sir, but we're going to go ahead and say it's just never going to happen. But if it does, we'll cover it right here on the Vanity Index podcast. Chad, I'm going to let you get back to it. You got a big tournament with our boy Jimmy. I hope you guys play well. I hate you so much. I'm so jealous of you. But thanks for setting up this interview, because getting to meet Jimmy was a big bucket list thing for me today.
Awesome, brother. Well, as always, it's been a blast. And, we'll see you back here, same time, same place next week.
All right. Play
Peace.
well, buddy. And later to all you golf sickos out there.